I hadn't heard from David in 11 months when he sent me the message. No explanation, no small talk, just a set of GPS coordinates, a date, and don't be late. That was it. No location name, no actual address. I almost didn't go. But David had always been strange, and the way he dropped off the map after college left too many unanswered questions. Curiosity won. Stupid move. His place was buried deep in the woods outside of Tacoma. Unmarked roads, no phone signal, nothing but trees. His house was old, falling apart, and it looked like it hadn't been cleaned in years. The porch had broken boards, the windows were caked with grime, and one of the upper panes was shattered but covered in duct tape from the inside. His car was parked off to the side, but there were no lights on. I knocked, waited. The silence was off. I pushed the door, unlocked. Inside, the smell hit first. Like bleach and rotting meat had been stirred together and left to stew for days. The floors were sticky. Stains were everywhere. Not the kind from spilled wine or oil. These were dark and soaked into the wood. I called his name but got nothing. I walked deeper into the house toward the only room with light. The door was open. I stopped at the frame. David was there, sitting at a desk surrounded by screens. At least 6 of them. He didn't turn when I stepped in, just stared at the monitors. They were playing grainy videos. Some looked like old VHS footage. All showed people. Alone, tied up, some screaming, some limp. He was smiling. I tried to laugh it off, told him he'd lost it, but David didn't even blink. He just reached for a notebook, scribbled something, then stood and walked past me without saying a word. I hesitated, then followed. I didn't want to go deeper into that place, but I also didn't want to be alone with the videos. He led me up creaky stairs, turning corners like he knew I'd follow. His steps were too calm. Every door we passed had deadbolts and metal hinges. On the outside, I asked him what he was doing. No answer. He stopped at the last door at the end of the hall and opened it. No hesitation. Then walked away back down the stairs. The room was dark, but light from the hallway spilled in. I leaned in to look. I shouldn't have. She was on the bed, his wife. What was left of her. Her face was black blue, one eye socket empty, her hands were bent backward, fingers missing. She'd been dead for days. The mattress was soaked and the wall behind her was covered in scratch marks. I stumbled back, slammed the door, and threw up on the hallway carpet. I went down the stairs, yelling for him. Nothing. The house was silent again. I tried the front door. Locked. I hadn't locked it. I yanked every window in sight. Nailed shut. Thick nails, deep into the wood. Then I saw it. A small black camera in the corner of the room, its red light on, pointed right at me. The lens moved, tracking. I backed into the kitchen. More cameras, hidden but not enough. Every room was under surveillance. Every door locked from the outside. Then I realized what this was. I hadn't been invited. I'd been delivered. I ran back to the room with the monitor. Some of the feeds were live now. One showed the hallway I had just run through. Another showed the bedroom upstairs with her corpse, static crawling across the image. The third showed the kitchen. Me, watching myself in real time. There was no sound, just a faint hum coming from the server stacked behind the desk. I started yanking cords. Nothing changed. The tension in my body was rising fast, my hands trembling as I tried to think. Every screen I unplugged, another one flickered on from somewhere else in the house. I smashed one with a stool. Its image blinked and reappeared on the screen to the left. I shouted for David, screamed at the cameras, but there was no reply. Just the click of something unlocking behind me. I turned. A closet door creaked open. Nothing inside but a single small speaker. Then David's voice came through. Calm, cold, like he was reading a bedtime story. He said I was now part of the feed, that I'd been chosen, that his viewers had paid a lot for tonight's stream. I shouted back, told him to go to hell. He laughed. said I should smile more. Then he began reading comments, real ones, from people watching. One said, make him crawl. Another said, let him scream first. He was performing, not for me, for them. His voice sharpened. He told me if I ran, they'd see more. If I fought, they'd pay more. Then the lights cut out. Total darkness, except for the monitors still glowing. The house went quiet again. Not silent, quiet in a different way. The kind of quiet that breathes with you. I moved fast, stepping away from the monitors and into the hallway, feeling the walls for anything I could use. I found a fire extinguisher under the sink. That was it. No weapons, no phone, nothing. Then I heard the footsteps. Slow, measured, coming from above. I backed into the pantry and crouched, clutching the extinguisher like it would help. I didn't blink. His steps moved across the ceiling, then stopped. I waited, my muscles locked up from holding still so long. Then came a sound I can't forget. A dragging chain clinking against wood, followed by a door creaking open. He spoke again, but this time not through the speaker. He was closer, said he had a surprise for me, that it was time to play, that if I could survive for 15 minutes, the door would unlock. Said the viewers liked games with rules. Then he started a countdown. I don't know if it was real or if he made it up. Either way, I started running. I made it to the back room. It was empty except for a cage in the corner and hooks on the ceiling. Blood still wet on the drain. I grabbed a metal pipe. It was slippery, cold. Then I heard him laugh from the hallway. The lights turned red. He was coming. I tried to stay low, moved through the rooms fast, staying out of sight from the cameras. I found a broken mirror and used a shard as a blade. Pathetic, but it felt better than nothing. His voice came over the speaker again, playful now. He said I reminded him of a dog he once tortured. That the dog begged, too. That it didn't help. He kicked the door open. I heard it slam into the wall. He was coming through rooms faster now. The cameras followed me wherever I went. I could hear the viewers in my head like they were whispering right behind me. I reached the basement stairs and ran down. It was colder than the rest of the house. Darker, too. The basement was worse than I could have imagined. Chains hanging from the ceiling, dried blood on the walls, racks of tapes all labeled. Some names, some just dates. There were tools, not hammers or knives, but things I couldn't even name. Hooks, saws, clamps. I found a rusted machete and held it tight. My hands were shaking. Then David appeared. He didn't run, he walked down like he owned the place. He had a knife in one hand and his phone in the other. He was filming. I screamed and rushed him. We clashed in the dark. He swung, I blocked, he cut my forearm, deep. I hit him in the ribs. He stabbed my shoulder. I jammed the machete into his thigh. He screamed, fell back. Blood everywhere. But he didn't stop. He reached for something behind him. I grabbed a chain and swung it hard across his face. It cracked against his skull. He dropped the knife and fell to the floor, twitching. I didn't wait to see if he'd get back up. I took his phone, ran upstairs, and locked the basement behind me. My blood was all over the walls. My shoulder burned like fire, but I made it to the front door. It was wide open. Red and blue lights flooded the porch. Cops yelled, guns raised. I dropped the phone and collapsed. One of them pulled me out, cuffed me, asked if I was armed. I just laughed. Didn't have the strength to talk. They went inside and found David unconscious. Found her body upstairs. Found the cameras, the tools, the whole operation. They said it was the worst live stream they'd ever seen. Over 10,000 people had tuned in, all anonymous, all gone once the feed died. His wife had been killed 4 days earlier. Her death had been part of the first stream. I had been the main event. David survived. He's in a psychiatric facility now. He doesn't talk, just stares at the walls. They said his mind broke before the arrest, maybe before the first kill. The recordings were real. Everything on the tapes was verified. Most victims are still unidentified. They trace the feed to a private hub on the deep web, encrypted beyond belief. Law enforcement shut it down, but clones pop up every week. People still ask for the feed, still post screenshots. Some claim I was part of it, that I helped him, that I escaped too easily. I live in a motel now. Different name, different state. Every night I check under the bed, behind the door. I haven't slept a full night since. But what really gets me is this. Sometimes when I close my eyes, I hear a voice behind me. Calm, cold, reading comments that aren't supposed to exist anymore. And sometimes I feel the red light turn on. This story is based on the crimes of David Kalloch, an American man who murdered his girlfriend Amber Lynn Copeland in 2014. After killing her in their shared apartment in Port Orchard, Washington, he photographed her body and uploaded the images to a forum associated with the deep web. The photos were accompanied by chilling messages hinting at future murders. Kalloch fled the scene and triggered a multi-state manhunt before finally turning himself in. He was convicted of murder and sentenced to 82 years in prison. What most people don't know is that Kalloch wasn't acting alone. Behind the viral headlines and the trial, some details were never made public, including a live stream known among deep web users as The Feed. Witnesses, videos, and fragments of conversations point to a setup far more disturbing than a single murder. This story follows one of the few survivors tied to Kalloch's circle, someone who got too close, saw too much, and barely made it out alive.
Hey guys, I'm Zach Anderson. Today, I'm going to tell you about a horrible incident that happened to me when I browsed the deep web. This incident happened to me a few years back, when COVID-19 hit. As a professional chef working in an up-and-coming restaurant in Seattle, I was jobless overnight. Like all the restaurants, I was shut down due to the widespread disease. For about a month, I did nothing, waited for the world to restart. But we all know how that went. By month 3, I was struggling to pay rent and basic utilities. That's when a friend of mine suggested me to explore the world of social media. She told me how much I can do as a chef creating content for various social media platforms. My small rented apartment had a modular kitchen where I could shoot videos. But when I did my research, I realized that there were several chefs sharing their recipes and culinary talent with the world already. I did not want to be another name on the endless list. So I did some digging and decided to take a route less traveled. I decided to become a reaction chef, and not just any reaction chef. I decided to test our rare exotic meat and react to it, comment on its flavor, taste, texture, and the way it was cooked, and give my expert opinion. So for my first video, I hunted a dove and cooked it myself, and made a video of me tasting it. I don't know how or what exactly excited people about my content, but I was an overnight success. I know it's tough to become successful by just posting one video on social media, but somehow, I had done it. Maybe it was the boredom people felt that attracted them to my content, but I knew from the get-go that this could be something big. For the next couple of videos, I tried goat meat, a duck, an ostrich, and some rare fish from the Pacific. All of this was delivered to my footstep by the meat supplier that supplied the meat to our restaurant. But beyond this, he could not offer me anything else, so I decided to dig on the internet and see if anyone was selling exotic meat or not. Somehow, in the wee hours of the morning, when I was fueled up on coffee, I stumbled on the deep web. There was a forum there, where people from all around the world spoke about their shared experiences eating exotic meats. I thought I hit a gold mine, and immediately I became very active in the chat. After a couple of hours of getting to know some of the people there, I revealed my identity, and surprisingly, a lot of the people on the forum recognized me. That's when I received a private message. A user named Otto was texting me. His message was brief, but it caught my attention. Want to try new meat? Contact Otto3477@hotmail.com, and an email ID was given. I tried out an email to Otto. He replied pretty fast, and through our back and forth I gathered he owns a cafe where he not only serves coffee, but also serves exotic meat. His cafe is in Alaska, where he hunts the animals himself and serves them, and most people on the forum were either his current customers or were his customers in the past. Otto operated the forum on the deep web to vet prospective customers, and turns out I had just made it on the list. However, going to Alaska was a challenge itself. The flights weren't operating, so the only way to get there was by driving or by boat. I decided to drive and film some content for my YouTube channel while I was on the road. Plus, it gave me the freedom to set my own schedule. 7 weeks later, I was standing in front of Otto's cafe. From the outside, it looked like any other rustic cafe you would see in a small secluded town. Autumn had just set in, so all the red and orange gave me the perfect backdrop to shoot my videos. Otto turned out to be a man in his late 60s who ran the cafe for ages. He seemed like a sweet old grandpa who would give you life advice over coffee. We sat in his cafe and chattered. He told me his hunting stories and how he ships the meat throughout the country. However, when I tried to shoot a video with him in his cafe, he flat out denied. He told me that I was welcome there to enjoy the exotic meats, but none of this should be put on social media. As my whole purpose was to review the food and film it, I suggested to compromise. I asked him if I could take the food to my hotel and review it there. I also promised that I would not mention where the food was from and how I got my hands on it. Otto agreed, and for the next week, I ate a wolf, a bear, and some other animals that I'm not so comfortable to mention here. My videos were hitting new highs, and the numbers were off the charts. I was a quick success. Day after day, I carried my packed food to the hotel I had been staying near Otto's cafe and shot my videos. Never once did I mention Otto or being in Alaska. 3 weeks later, when I was back home reviewing my videos and reading all the comments that were posted below, one comment caught my attention. One of my viewers mentioned he had spotted something unusual in the last video I had posted. He thought I had eaten human meat, not an exotic animal, but an actual human, thinking it was some rare exotic meat I had procured. At first, I laughed it off, but something didn't sit right with me. So I tried contacting Otto, but I couldn't get in touch with him. As a last resort, I logged into the deep web forum, and what I saw blew my mind. The forum's name had changed to Otto's Cannibal Cafe, and there were videos of myself enjoying the food Otto had given me, which I had posted on social media. Everyone in the group was commenting how gullible I was and how I could not distinguish animal meat from human meat. For 7 days straight, Otto had fed me different parts of a human body, telling me it was some sort of animal he had hunted. I felt so sick that I emptied the contents of my stomach and sat there frozen in front of my computer. When I finally gained my composure, I realized that all the people in the forum were cannibals, and Otto did not supply them with exotic meat. Rather, he supplied them dead body parts. And once in a while, these people placed bets and invited someone like me into their forum to traumatize. I deleted all my videos and immediately called the authorities. Soon, these news were picked up by my true followers, and Otto's cafe was raided by the cops. Turns out he was not hunting animals in the Alaskan wilderness. Rather, he hunted hikers, homeless people, and sometimes even lone park rangers in there, and chopped up their bodies for sale. It has been years since this incident, but to date, I haven't touched a non-vegetarian item. Guilt and fear still grips me whenever I see meat items on the table. I met Victor and Igor at an internet cafe near Niplo. They look like average guys, early 20s, soft-spoken, always whispering over their phones and staring at the screen like something was pulling them in. I worked deliveries back then, and was always broke. They offered cash if I helped them move some gear to a place they were fixing outside the city. No details, just easy job, fast money. I didn't ask questions. The location was 20 meters out, abandoned road, wheat fields, no signs, no nearby houses. Their cabin was falling apart. The windows were covered with thick black plastic, the front door reinforced with welded plates. I stood outside a second too long. Igor noticed and smiled, said they had to keep the weather out. Inside, the place was stripped. No furniture, just cables running across the floors, and cameras set up on tripods. Victor pointed towards the basement, told me to bring down the last box. The stairs creaked with every step. The air was colder, smelled like rust and mold. At the bottom there was a chair, metal, bolted to the floor, chains hanging from the armrest. The concrete around it was stained, dark and layered. I froze. The walls had holes for cameras, no windows. As I turned around to ask them what the hell this was, the door above me slammed shut. A bolt clicked into place. I ran upstairs, pounded the door with both fists, screamed. They didn't answer. For maybe 10 minutes I stood there yelling. Then I stopped. No point. I checked the corners of the basement. No vents, no windows, just a chair, a drain, and the faint sound of something mechanical behind the walls. I paced, thinking maybe this was a prank, some sick joke. But then the lights dimmed, and one of the cameras switched on, red LED blinking. A screen lowered from the ceiling. It showed me above, live feed, the same basement, my body, my face. A speaker on the wall cracked, followed by Igor's voice, calm and flat, like he was reading instructions. You've been selected, don't panic, the feed is already live, they're watching. I shouted his name, yelled that this wasn't funny. No response. Then Victor spoke. His voice was lowered, more controlled. You're a lucky man. Not everyone gets to be a part of this. You've got picked. We'll show them what you can do. Don't disappoint them. My legs felt like they were trying to walk away on their own. I looked at the chair again. This wasn't a movie set. The stains weren't fake. And then I saw it. Above the drain. Small chunks of flesh still clinging to the floor. Not old. Not dry. That's when I knew I had walked into something I couldn't reason with. The speaker clicked off. A mechanical hum started behind the wall. Then a metal slot opened to my left. A box laid out on the tray. I didn't want to touch it, but I couldn't look away either. I forced it open with my foot. Inside were 3 things. A claw hammer, a folding knife, and zip ties. Beneath them was a phone with a cracked screen, already recording. I picked it up and saw the feed. Over 3,000 viewers. The comments were in Russian, English, German. Some were just emojis. Others said things like "start already" and "make him scream." The room went quiet again. For a few seconds there was nothing but the buzz of the lights. Then a hidden hatch opened on the far wall. I backed away. From the dark space, a plastic bag was dragged out. Inside it was a body. Young, male, mid-20s. His face was swollen, beaten beyond recognition, but still intact enough to see his expression. Eyes open, mouth taped, wrists zip-tied. I could see that his jaw had been dislocated. Blood covered the bag on the floor beneath him. He had died recently, very recently. The camera zoomed in automatically, focusing on the body. Then it cut to a previous feed. Same basement, same guy, alive and tied to the chair. He was crying, struggling. Victor was beside him, smiling. Igor held the camera steady, not saying a word. The video lasted maybe a minute, then it froze the moment the hammer hit his temple. The comment section exploded with reactions. Some cheered, others asked for a second angle. My stomach dropped. I backed into the wall and gripped the phone like it could protect me. The speaker came on again. Igor said I had 2 options. Participate or be next. No screaming, no begging. Just pick up the hammer and show them what I could do. I shouted back that they were sick, that I wasn't a part of this. Victor replied with one line. We know. That's what makes it better. The lights dimmed red. A metal door on the far end unlatched and opened. I was holding the hammer now, even though I didn't remember picking it up. Igor stepped through first. He wore a black ski mask, same jacket from the cafe. Camera in one hand, flashlight mounted to it. He scanned the room until the light landed on my face. Then Victor followed, slow, with a rusted ice pick in one hand and a tablet in the other. He didn't speak. He just stared at the screen, reading comments out loud. People like you, man. They want to see what you'll do when no one helps. They want to see how long you last. I charged without thinking, hammer raised. I aimed for Victor's head, but he moved fast. I missed, hit his shoulder. He stumbled back, but didn't go down. Igor rushed in and grabbed my arm, twisted until I dropped the hammer. I elbowed him in the throat and broke free. Victor swung the ice pick, missed my face by inches. I ducked, grabbed the camera from Igor's hand and smashed it into his face. He dropped. Victor screamed something in Ukrainian and then tackled me. He slammed me into the wall. He punched my rib hard. I kneed him in the crotch and shoved him back. He grabbed the ice pick again and slashed towards my leg. It grazed me. I kicked him in the shin, grabbed the hammer, and slammed it into his forearm. I felt the bone give away. He dropped the pick. Igor pulled a second camera from his coat, filming again. His nose was broken, blood pouring, but he just kept recording. I backed into the corner, hammer raised, breathing heavy. They stood between me and the stairs. I wasn't going to win a second round. Victor pointed to the feet on the table and grinned through the blood.
You're their favorite now. Let's give them the ending they want.
I faked a lunge and threw the hammer towards the light fixture. It shattered the bolt. Darkness fell. They screamed. I ran, used the noise to find the far wall, found the vent I had seen earlier, barely big enough to crawl through. I climbed onto the chair, then the dead body bag. It collapsed halfway, but I managed to grip the ledge and force my way into the crawl space. It was pitch black. Fiberglass insulation ripped at my arms. I pushed forward with my elbows and knees. I could hear them below, shouting, slamming walls. At one point, Igor started stabbing upwards with a pole through the drywall. Missed me by inches. I kept crawling until I saw the faint glow through a panel. I kicked it open and dropped into the kitchen. My legs barely held up. The back door had 2 chains and a deadbolt. I pulled a butcher knife from the sink and I pried the lock until it cracked. Blood ran down my arms. My whole body was shaking. I heard footsteps upstairs. Victor's voice.
You don't get to walk away. We'll find you. You're already a part of it.
The door finally gave. I fell out into the wheat fields, barefoot, bleeding, sprinting into the dark. The night was silent except for the wind and my own breath. I didn't stop until I collapsed on the dirt road. A truck slowed, horn blaring. A man jumped out, yelling. I couldn't talk, just pointed back to the cabin, towards hell. The police didn't believe a word until they found the basement. It was cleaned up, fast. Cameras gone, blood scrubbed. But the chair was still there. So were the scratches on the walls, the metal hatch, the tools. They found DNA from the last 3 different victims. One of them was confirmed. A man who went missing 2 weeks earlier. Victor and Igor vanished the same night. Van, phones, personal files, everything gone. The cafe shut down the next day. Their names were scrubbed from online forums. No record of the live stream exists on the surface web. But I know what I saw. People watched. Thousands of them. They cheered. They asked for more. 2 nights after I escaped, I got a message from an unknown number. No text, just a link. I didn't click it, but the preview thumbnail showed a paused video. Me, in the basement, hammer raised, blood on my face. The title was simple. Stream 21. Survivor. I left Ukraine 6 months later. I changed my name, burned the clothes I wore that night. I haven't used social media since. But sometimes, I hear clicking sounds outside of my apartment. Sometimes I find USB drives left at my doorstep, all empty, all labeled with numbers. I try not to think about it, but when I sleep, I dream about the chair, the screen, the smell. I still see their faces, calm, focused, like they were never mad, just documenting something they'd done 100 times before. People say I got lucky that I escaped, but it's not over. Because someone recorded it, and once you're part of a video on the deep web, you're not a person anymore. You're content. This story is based on the crimes of Viktor Sayenko and Igor Saprynyak, 2 19-year-olds from Dnipro, Ukraine, who carried out a series of brutal murders in 2007. For a single month, they killed 21 people using hammers, screwdrivers, and other tools, targeting victims at random, many of them elderly, women, and children. Several murders were filmed, including the horrific killing of 48-year-old Sergei Yatsenko, whose death was captured in a video that later circulated across hidden corners of the internet. What most people don't know is that these murders were not random acts of violence. Behind the public headlines and court footage, there were reports, videos, and survivor accounts that point to something far more coordinated. Victor and Igor were recording for a reason. They were connected to a network of deep web users obsessed with watching real violence unfold in real time. What started as snuff clips turned into full broadcasts, planned, filmed, and distributed to anonymous viewers around the world. What you're about to see comes from one of those broadcasts, one that was never meant to be found.